Thank you to the following sponsors for helping to make this show possible. The Vegetarian Society of Hawaii, a non-profit organization founded in 1990 to promote human health, animal rights, and the protection of the environment. And Your Legacy Video, creating video memoirs for any and all of the important occasions of your life, including your life story to pass down. Mahalo to these fine sponsors. Welcome to Life on Maui. My name is Stephen Freid. Our guest today is Laura Lee Blanchard, and I affectionately refer to her as the Queen of the Animals. She is the Maui Director of the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii, and she is doing wonderful work in many ways that we're going to talk about. And my first question for you, Laura Lee, is how did you first become vegetarian and when?
It was 11 years ago. I had previously been working in efforts to spay and neuter cats, and that led me to become involved with an animal organization that focused on other animal issues. And it was then that I became educated about animals kept on factory farms and raised for food. And when I saw video footage of the conditions in which they're kept in such intense confinement and the atrocities that occur in slaughterhouses, I decided to focus more of my efforts toward helping these animals. And the fact that the numbers are so vast made a big difference to me. Even though there are millions of cats that need help, the numbers of farm animals are in the billions. 10 billion animals are raised and killed for food every year just in the U.S.
So your attention shifted from the cats and the spaying, the neutering, which is also very important, to wanting to do something about the inhumanity that animals are treated with, if that's a way you can say it, inhumanity. But yeah, it's inhumanity.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I felt that the first place to start was on my own plate, to not support an industry that I felt was treating these animals very badly. And from there, I decided to make it my mission to educate others.
So you very quickly, I think you said in 2 weeks or something like that, you went from being vegetarian to being vegan. What is vegan? And what's the difference between vegan and vegetarian?
Well, I started out as vegetarian, and a vegetarian diet usually will include animal products like milk and dairy products, butter, cheese, eggs, and I thought that was okay. My belief was that the animals that produce the milk aren't killed for the milk. They produce the milk, and that's the end of the story. And same with the egg-laying hens. But I learned later that the lives of these milk-producing cows and egg-laying hens is pretty miserable. And in the end, they are killed.
Is that so?
Once they're spent, they're slaughtered, and they go through the same nightmare as the beef cattle and the broiler chickens.
Even in the, how about in the organic industry, like the kind of food we might find at Mana or Whole Foods, or is there more consciousness around it, or are we to be more cautious about things you might buy in supermarkets?
Well, I think it's definitely an improvement from what you would buy in the supermarkets, the non-organic milk and beef and eggs. But these animals are still slaughtered, and they still go through the same process as the non-organic ones. And
well, I just want to clarify. So when you say same process, I'm somewhat aware, I'm sure you're much more aware of what terrible conditions there are. I mean, But I have a belief that with when you bring more consciousness into it, that maybe the animals are killed, but it's not horrible conditions that they live in. Is that accurate or not?
Well, every farm is different.
Mm-hmm.
Some egg farms that call themselves free range aren't exactly free range. The animals are still kept in pretty close quarters. The hens are still debeaked. They slice through the tip of the chicken's beak with a hot blade, and this is really painful because there are numerous nerve endings in the chicken's beaks.
Oh, no.
And
What
as
would
far
it be
as
equivalent with a human? Like,
the tips of the fingernails, it would be like cutting off the tips of your fingers
oh my
without
God.
any anesthesia.
Mm.
And a lot of these chickens end up starving to death because they're in so much pain they can't eat, or they botch the debeaking process to where they can't grab the food, the grain with the beak.
Mm.
And then as far as the slaughter goes, they all go to the same slaughterhouses. So
Really? So even
there aren't special slaughterhouses for organic animals.
Huh. But I know I'm asking a little. I'm just very interested in this. So, but I imagine there are some people who are raising cattle humanely.
Yes, and
That's true, right?
that's true. And the beef cattle typically have much better lives than the dairy cattle.
Uh-huh. I see. Well, you do a lot of educating. Once a month you have meetings at the Cameron Center right here in Wailuku.
Yes, we bring in some great speakers, vegetarian experts from all over the world. We've had some really big names, authors and medical doctors, nutritionists. All of our speakers have the top-notch credentials. And the lectures are fascinating, and they can be viewed on Akaku.
And they're free.
Yes, the lectures...
I mean, the lectures themselves are free.
Yes, they're typically held at the Cameron Center, and they start at 7 o'clock. It's not always the same day each month. It's once a month. The speaker will talk for an hour, and that's followed by questions and answers. And then we have a beautiful sampling of vegan refreshments so that the attendees can find out how delicious the vegan food is.
Yeah.
And we have a great literature table full of information packages, recipes.
I was to a couple of these, and I want to personally say, if you want to know what incredible vegan food tastes like, come to one of these. There's a couple. What are their names?
Home and Brooke.
Home and Brooke. And if you ever thought vegan food is boring, come to one of these and sample some free vegan food. It's really
Pretty impressive.
It's impressive. It really is. There's something you told me earlier about foie gras. Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, foie gras, yes.
Yeah. What is that? And I mean, this is a little bit unsettling, but what is foie gras? And talk a little bit about how it's that whole process.
Foie gras is fatty liver of a duck or a goose, and it's produced by force-feeding the birds massive amounts of grain. They shove a metal pipe down the esophagus of the bird several times a day and pump in the grain to the point where the liver swells up and becomes hepatic lipidosis is a technical term, but it's fatty liver. It's a disease. It's a diseased liver. And this fatty liver is served as a delicacy in some restaurants. It's extremely expensive. And some communities in some countries have outlawed it because it's produced so cruelly.
What are some places that have outlawed it?
It's outlawed in Israel and the UK. And we've been working to try to get some restaurants that still serve it to stop serving it.
Here in Hawaii?
Yes. Many restaurants have become enlightened about the inhumane way in which it's produced, and they've elected to remove it from their menus.
You got sensitized from a very early age to do with cruelty to animals. You told me some stories. Your father you had cats, and there was some things that went on at home that sensitized you? What were some of those kind of stories that were formative for you? And I know it's not anything against your father, but this was very formative for you.